I'm Joe. Suppressing scientists through new anti-science laws is today's bullshit. That's right, anti-science laws, courtesy of those science-fearing conservatives. While the U.S. Senate debated and rejected the Keystone Pipeline, the Republican-filled House was attacking science. Representative Chris Stewart from Utah sponsored H.R. 1422, the Scientific Advisory Board Reform of 2014. It passed the House 229 to 191. That's by 54.5%. The bill is being portrayed as a play for transparency in science. Representative Michael Burgess from Texas argued that the EPA's current structure is problematic because it excludes industry experts, but not officials for environmental advocacy groups. The inclusion of industry experts, he said, would right this injustice. The bill attacks the EPA's Science Advisory Board, which is composed of some of the best independent scientists. It exists not to advocate any particular policy, but to evaluate whether the best science was used in agency decisions. The main problem comes from this little segment of the bill. In the case of board advisory activity on a particular matter involving a specific party, no board member having an interest in the specific party shall participate in the activity. And board members may not participate in advisory activities that directly or indirectly involve review or evaluation of their own work. In short, academic scientists who know the most about a subject can't weigh in, but non-scientist experts paid by corporations who want to block regulations can. Really not a big surprise coming from Chris Stewart, who has openly said the EPA should be eliminated because it thwarts energy development. Says the guy who counts energy and pharmaceuticals as his top 5 industry contributors. This bill would make it possible for industry funding non-scientist experts to serve on the Science Advisory Board, while excluding independent scientists from commenting on their own research. In other words, when considering the best science to be used for EPA policy, academic scientists who know the most about a subject can't weigh in. But experts paid by corporations who want to block regulations can. Fucking brilliant. Then there's H.R. 4012, the Secret Science Reform Act of 2014, sponsored by Arizona's very own David Schweikert. It passed the House 237 to 190. That's 54.3% for those keeping track. This one's a little bit more sneaky. It would prohibit the EPA from proposing, finalizing, or disseminating regulations or assessments based upon science that is not transparent or reproducible. Lamar Smith, chairman of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, said, "Costly environmental regulations should only be based on data that is available to independent scientists and the public." Okay, on the surface, that sounds pretty reasonable. But here comes the sneaky part. Lots of important scientific studies contain patient data that cannot be transparent. For example, like a medical study on the effects of pesticide spraying on people. That study would include patient data that would be federally protected and cannot be released. Therefore, the advisory board would not see that study. As Andrews A. Rosenberg put it, demanding public release of full raw data the agency cannot legally disclose is simply a way to accuse the agency of hiding something when it has nothing to hide. Sure, the EPA could use more transparency. But when David Schweikert was pressed for examples of unreproducible studies that influenced EPA regulations, he was unable to provide anything. Political meddling in the EPA is nothing new. In 2008, a report was released that said 60% out of 1,500 scientists experienced political interference in their studies. The highest number of complaints about political interference came from scientists who are directly involved in writing regulations. as well as those who conduct risk assessments, such as determining a chemical cancer risk for humans. Nearly 400 scientists said they had witnessed EPA officials misrepresenting scientific findings. 284 said they had witnessed the selective or incomplete use of data to justify a specific regulatory outcome. And 224 scientists said they had been directed to inappropriately exclude or alter technical information in an EPA document. For example, the agency had planned to call last year for a moratorium on the gas drilling technique known as hydrofracturing in the New York City watershed. But that advice was removed from the publicly released letters sent to New York City. With a boom in production of shale oil and gas and possible profits for large corporations, oil and natural gas-funded politicians interfered with science to push legislation to protect their cash cows. Mitch McConnell promised to go after Obama's EPA as it finalizes a proposal to regulate pollution from coal-fired power plants. James Inhofe, a climate change skeptic, who is poised to lead the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, also plans to scrutinize and agitate the EPA. Now, to be certain, there is indeed a need for more critical assessment of EPA actions. Some of the disruptive bullshit that comes out of the Endangered Species Act is at the top of my list. But suppressing science in favor of big money is not the way to do it. Chris Stewart, David Schwerker, ha, you're next level bullshit. And there it is, episode 23. I want to thank all our viewers and commenters, especially Michael Lloyd, who liked episode 22, with the astute comment that the engineers who built the Saturn V did so using slide rules. Frickin' slide rules. If you have an idea for something we should cover, send us a tweet with hashtag NLBS. Or tell us what you think is next level bullshit in your own YouTube video. If we like it, we'll use it. You can also email me ideas at joe@nextlevelbullshit.com. And don't forget to go to thenlbs.spreadshirt.com to get shirts and other next level bullshit swag. We'll see you tomorrow with another episode of Next Level Bullshit. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and watch all our shows on nextlevelbullshit.com. So, what do you think of the new set, huh? We sold 4 shirts and bought some paint and lights. Big profit margin on those t-shirts. Thanks, guys.